All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first debate for tonight. One of our activities to celebrate our first anniversary is MOP, Movement of the People. My name is Olumide Omotosho, and I'm going to be the moderator for both debates. We have two debates. The first one is, should poverty influence political consciousness? And our speakers are Ilya Dachong Yakubu, DK Christian Ogbonna, and Olori Ashabi. And that starts in a couple of minutes. For our second debate, which starts in an hour from now, we have four speakers. The topic is the Nigerian constitution really a problem of Nigeria? And we have four speakers. We have engineer Malcolm Ndubisi Okadigbo. We have Emmanuel Bassi. Then we have Abioye Bankole and Chukwemeka Uzuchukwu Ogugu Onwosu. I'm going to hand over to one of my colleagues now as part of the Debate Society to give a brief introduction to the Debate Society, introduction to MOP, and that kicks off the events for tonight. Over to you, Jeff.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So the life of the people where a few would take a stand that would change the course of history, and the ones who have said enough is enough, and the ones who, instead of focusing on appointments and the failures of our fathers, we look to our forefathers and our ancestors like Kwame, Clark, Sankara, Toure, and Kuti, inspiration on who we are, what we should strive to be, not just as but as a nation. And those who have made that decision to take a stand against terror, incompetence, and oppression are here today, not just to celebrate a year of progress, but to promote discourse on what the present is and what the future ought to look like. Debate through history has always been a tool for such discourse. And that's why, as a people striving for a nation of all these anomalies, we have come together to begin a new journey to tell skills. And this is why we're all here today. I welcome you to the first MOP. This is a celebration of 1 year. This is a celebration of togetherness. This is a celebration of progress. And this society tries and do the best possible to ensure that it promotes national discourse. And debate is a tool for refining ideas, and MOP as a party that stands for the people would always want to refine its ideas to fit the needs of the people. And this is what debate is all about. I welcome you all and hope that, and I know that we'll have a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you. Illumine, you're on mute.
Yeah. Awesome, Jeffrey. Yes, I just figured out. Thank you for that beautiful one. So this is going to be the start of the first debate. And I want to kindly ask our speakers for the first debate to turn on the cameras. We have Ilya Dachong Yakubu, DK Christian Ogbonna, and Olori Ashabi.
Sorry, please, I can't turn on my camera because it's too light.
All right, as soon as you can, please just feel free to turn on your camera. All right, I'm going to go through the format of the debate real quick before we start. Each speaker is allocated a maximum of 7 minutes for an opening statement, and each side will have the chance to present arguments and questions to the opposing side. And while the debate is ongoing, the audience can submit questions in the chat, which will be asked by either myself or Jeffrey, my co-host. And if time permits, if we still have some time before the 1 hour mark, some of the audience, some persons can, contribute or even ask questions. And each speaker is allowed a maximum of 1 minute closing statement. All speakers and audience shall observe by the rules. All right, don't exceed the time. If your time is up and I call you to, to pause, please just, adhere to that. And I just want to remind us, all right, this is more of a discussion than a debate. It's not a competition. There are no winners, no losers, right? We're just sharing ideas, we're learning from each other.
Yeah.
And rebuttals, if you want to ask questions, if you want to oppose certain points, please, with respect, it's nothing personal, address the points made and the contents. This is a political organization, this is MOP, but this is not a political debate, it's an intellectual debate, intellectual discussion. So right now, I'm going to ask the speakers to turn on their mics to introduce themselves before we start with the debate. Ilya Yakubu, you want to go first?
Great. Great to be here and a privilege to be part of this debate. Again, it's my first in my lifetime, but I believe that the topic is challenging enough for me to speak about it. I'm Ilya Dachun Yakubu. I'm from Plateau State and I live in Jos.
Awesome. Thank you, Ilya. Chukwuemeka, you want to go next? Oh, rather, my bad. Olori Ashabi, sorry.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm really, really happy to be here, and I hope to learn from every speaker. I am Ashabi Odunto. I'm from Lagos State. I'm 26, and I'm into programming and I'm also a DJ. Thank you.
Awesome. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Olori or Olori?
Olori, like it's just a,
Oh, that's like okay.
title.
Okay.
Yeah, title.
It seems that DK Christian Ogbonna is running late. I expect him to join us later. But right now, let's start. Ilya Dachung Yakubu, should poverty influence political consciousness? The floor is yours.
Great. I said the first thing I responded when I was accepting this, I said, why not? Because we all know that in Nigeria, poverty have been a major problem. And as a political movement or whatever political group that want to make Nigeria to be better will want to focus on poverty. They want to be aware of the causes of poverty and they will want to respond adequately. And I think that is the consciousness that each political party needs to have to be able to solve the Nigerian problem. Because right now, if you Google it and find out what is the topmost social problem in Nigeria, you find out that poverty will come first. Though we know that we have conflicts and other things. And again, you also see that poverty, looking at it, it kind of like move around all of these things that we are having, the political instability, the crisis that we are having in most part of the country. And it also has its roots to things that we're supposed to have addressed. So to put things in perspective, to just help us to kind of like articulate, why should we try to be aware of our poverty situation as a country? And also to be able to find out how can we best address this social problem? I think it would be good enough for us to kind of like say, okay, wait a minute, what do we mean by poverty? And as many scholars who have defined poverty, some define it as an extreme state or condition where people lack financial resources and other resources that will enable them to meet their minimum, to have a basic standard of living. And when people don't have a basic standard of living, then there is no need to have governance. because in our current state as a country, that we have a government which is the process to select people to be in those government position to solve this problem is through political participation. And if the people who are participating in this politics are not aware of this condition of people or the things that are causing people to remain in this condition, you will find out that they will always do what they are into. Having said so, in one of the articles written by Adesomo Abonele, talking about an expanding country, he kind of like highlighted on 4 causes of corruption. And topmost among that is the causes of poverty in Nigeria. But again, corruption is the topmost cause of corruption, which is government corruption. And if for the past 12 to 16 years, since 1998, we have changed different governments. And if these people who have been in power or elected, these parties, if they have spent time to see how corruption is subjecting Nigerians into abject poverty, they will have reason and find out like, how can we stop corruption? What should we do to stop corruption in order to solve the social problem of poverty? And because they don't care, because their consciousness about their political consciousness about poverty, they feel that people are lazy, just like the President Buhari was saying that the Nigerian youth are lazy. And after all, the Nigerian youth are adding things to the economy. But because they just believe that people are lazy, that is why they are poor. But I always say that from the community I come from, I see people farming every day, and they are not benefiting from those farming. And I now ask myself, if these people are truly lazy and are not farming, what will happen to the state of security in my community? Everybody will become a criminal. So, but government corruption have denied these communities to access resources that will enable them to improve their farming, to improve their yields, to have access to market. And which of course, I'm going to touch about the next cause of corruption as suggested by Adesomo. He said that lack of economic infrastructure. And that is where, when you produce farm products, I'm just using my constituency as a point of reference. We don't have any potato value change in Plateau State, even though we have what it takes to supply potatoes. And government have not seen that this is how we can help solve this poverty. But because they don't care about it, they don't do anything about it. So the lack of economic infrastructure is limiting the people to succeed. And one of the keys that you can even think about is that looking at the technology that the government is attacking on a daily basis, like the technology should be monitored, or it should be census and all of that. And it got to a point that people cannot use Twitter, and these are infrastructures that can help Nigerians to thrive economically. But again, they are still trying to make it to not to function. So the next cause that he pointed out is that there is poor access to education. I think this is a very key one. We know that we have schools, but the schools are not training us to be productive. They are not training us to express our innate ability. They are not in the school system is still like the same colonial era school system, whereas they are just training us to become administrators or to help them manage what they are doing to us. And so you find out that because of the kind of school system we have, from that period of independence.
Thank you, Elia Yakubu. Thank you. 7 minutes is up.
Okay.
You'd have the chance to come in again if time permits us. Yeah, thank you for that.
Good.
Now I am going to call on Olori Yashabi. The floor is yours. Please present your opening statement. Olori Ashebi, are you there?
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm here now.
Okay. Please, your
Yeah.
opening statement, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start by saying that I would like to define the words first and also pick my points from history and also the present times. So firstly, I'm going to say that what is poverty basically? Is a state of being extremely poor. And the statistic says that like 43% of Nigerians are living in poverty. And basically, politics itself is associated with power and governance. And consciousness is is a state of mind or awareness of the people. So if we put all of that together, we can't say that poverty has an influence on the political awareness, but it's not the totality of political awareness. Because if we use a realistic example, you don't have money. A normal person don't have money, but you want to start up a business. Are you going to say that poverty will restrict you from starting up the business, or you're going to find a way to start up the business? So the reason why I would say that poverty is not, because I find that a lot of Nigerians always make that excuse of, oh, because poor, we cannot have political consciousness. But we find them, the same people who say these things, are being controlled, or the same time they are using, right? The time that they can use to research and find the truth or facts about politics in Nigeria, they're using it to vandalize, they're using it to cause chaos. And we can see it in the NSAS, where the political people brought Nigerians to disrupt the protests. And these Nigerians are youths that are in a political party. So are we going to say that these Nigerians lack the political awareness to understand what is really happening? And also, I'm going to say that when we look at the revolution of the world, people were in a state of poverty when they fought for their independence. Nigeria is one of them. When we fought British for the independence, Nigerians were in a state of poverty, not just poverty. We have been brutalized, we have been dehumanized, and we still fought for independence. South Africans did the same. The black in America did the same. And this didn't stop them from fighting for their right. So I would say that poverty can be an influence, but it's not the total influence, because a lot of Nigerians rely on these things. Oh, we're poor. And if you look into the statistics, we could see that over 101 million Nigerians have a cell phone, a mobile cell phone. What are people using their phones to do? How are they accessing information? Because most of us that are here, we probably did it, we all went to Nigerian school, but we are trying out of our own spare time to find out what is really happening. Nobody's giving us this information or this knowledge. We are the ones going after this knowledge ourselves. So we have to start taking people accountable, because people often find out that they don't have this urge for knowledge. And people must understand that they must have an urge for knowledge beyond economic values. We cannot keep saying that, oh, because I don't have money, and this is the reason why I don't have a political consciousness, or I'm not aware of politics. Most people would rather watch Big Brother Nigeria than actually know what is happening in their country. And we have to understand the importance of politics. Politics actually controls your life, controls your movement, controls everything about you. Why wouldn't you want to be in that state and to know exactly what is happening? Now, another thing is, we need to understand that the problem of the mind is quite different and superior to the problem of an economic problem. So if people are not ready to liberate themselves, like Bob Marley said, we have to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody will teach you the things you need to know. Nobody will give you that knowledge if you don't go after it by yourself. I'm from a poor background myself, but right now I have the knowledge. I went after it. I'm not going to say, okay, because the government is not giving me this, I am going to sit down and just be looking. We have over 101 Nigerians using a cell phone. And we have over 62% of Nigerians are educated. And still, how many people voted in Nigerian election last year? We had 87 million people registered votes. At the end of the day, we had only 27 million people voting. And we have 62 million people, 22% of Nigerians educated. So what exactly is going on? Are we going to blame all our problems on poverty? But people are conducting business. People are doing things every day. Why are people not going into this information and searching for themselves? Because the truth of the matter is, even if MOP decides to be for the people, we can't give people biscuit and sweet to know their right. We can't do that. We still want people to be aware, to know. And if Nigerians are not ready to take that step and keep blaming it on poverty, we're going to die here. And that's the truth. I think on that, I'm going to rest my case. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Olori Eshebi. That was just under 7 minutes. Right now it's the time for rebuttals, and I am going to start with you, Olori Eshebi. If there's something in particular that Ilya Dachung Yakubu said that you'd like to address real quick, and then after that, Ilya Dachung Yakubu, you can come in to address Olori Eshebi as well. 3 minutes each. Thank you.
I don't have anything to rebuttal on what Ilya said, so you can go.
All right. Ilya Dachung Yakubu, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes rebuttal for her opening statement.
It's all
and
right.
please
So
don't forget, your camera should be turned on, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I will want to start from the last point that she mentioned about Bob Marley, making reference to saying, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And I think that is a state of political consciousness. I think we can talk about it from the angle of the citizens. We can talk about it from the angle of a political party. And talking about it from the angle of the citizens or those who have been governed. If those who have been governed have been subjected to poverty, when they will realize that this thing is a game, that is when they have become conscious politically to know that we need to do something about it. And when you realize that you need to do something about it, that is the consciousness. You are now aware, you are now becoming aware of the reality that have subjected you in this. Because if we say there is no poverty, we are lying. And when people who are poor they just feel like that is normal. They don't have that consciousness. They have not realized their reality. And I think that's what Bob Marley is trying to say, that people need to realize it. And again, that is why I see like the things we do on through MOP, doing the power mic thing, is helping the people to gain that consciousness that these things don't supposed to happen. This thing is not normal. It's someone that is taking advantage of it. That's from the individual point of view. And from the political point of view, or before I go to the political point of view, the NSAS movement is the consciousness that the Nigerian youth got from their reality that have subjected them for many years. And they said, we have to speak about it. And that was how they speak about it. And we know that not everybody is there, but as we need to grow this consciousness in the mind of the people to know that the people have the political power to decide who governs them. And because they have the political power to know who governs them, they need to know that, okay, because of poverty, we need to vote someone that is aware of our poverty and who will do something about it. And so the political party as well, the way MOP is going, we need to really, really investigate what are the true causes of poverty and how can we help deal with this issue. If we don't do that, then we will still be the same kind of a political party that don't know what is causing poverty and don't know how, because as far as I'm concerned, UNICEF, United Nations, all of those guys, they will not solve the problem of poverty in Nigeria because they don't know the reality. Most of them, they are far away from us. We know the reality. We need to investigate it, and we need to develop something that will put, at least reduce poverty. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions right now, and my first question is directed at you, Ilya Dachong Yakubu.
Okay.
From your opening statement and from the points you just gave now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite evident. We all know, every Nigerian know, and even non-Nigerians, we all know that poverty is an issue in Nigeria. You know, you've talked about social issues, economic issues. However, the topic is addressing political consciousness, and I'd like to see more points directed at that. And before you come in, targeted towards Olori Ashabi, this is my question. Yes, you've talked about poverty and people just using that as an excuse to be part of the political structure. But yes, my question. Consciousness, I like the definition you gave. I mean, the one word that comes to mind when it comes to consciousness is awareness. And if you consider years and decades of oppression and and abuse and subjugation of our people, and also very important, um, the political class using their position, in ways that are not favorable to the people. Don't you think that that might have, in fact, discouraged people from being conscious politically? We talked about business, about education, about other things that people are aware of. But when it comes to the political discussion, that is something entirely different. So yeah, Olori Ashabi, you can go first. My question, and then Ilya Dachung Yakubu, you can answer after.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say that nobody owes your time and nobody can direct what you do with your time.
Thank you
If
very
people decide to sit down on their own time, where the government is not restricting you or monitoring you on what you're doing with your time, to research about politics, nobody's going to hold you. If you do that in your own voluntary time, nobody's going to tell you don't do this. So my point is, people hold economic value over awareness. And until people start to realize that awareness is before economic value, because it's from awareness that you produce economic value, then you realize what is really important. The truth of the matter is the people have shifted their importance to money. And in all honesty, even to create a governance that cares for the people must look beyond money. So if the people are not looking beyond money, how do you want to produce a governance that can look beyond money? Because everybody's thinking, oh, if I have money, then I'll be free. You're not free, because the slavery is not about money.
I have to be around because I'm going to speak then.
So all I'm saying is the slavery is not about money. It's a mental slavery. And until people start to understand, the mental slavery is quite different and is quite higher than economic slavery. Because if you're free from your mind, you can do anything you want to do. And let's go back. I'm going to say this lastly, to when Africans were still, the value system of Africa did not change due to colonialism, when we were still Africans. I read, in fact, that the Igbo people viewed poverty from this perspective. They said that he will eat only with what the market holds. The people considered people who are poor as people who only eat what the market holds. And the Yoruba people consider people who are poor as enitio nishe, person that doesn't have a work or is not wanting to work. This is what Yoruba people saw poverty as, a poor person as. But now in the society, what do people see poor people as? People that don't have cars, people that don't have an iPhone, people that have that is not, that don't have a large social media accounts, all these things. We need to understand that the mind has to be cured. If the mind is not cured, and the mind cure, it is not on anybody but ourselves. Until the people realize that the ones that own the power, they'll keep being enslaved. And you cannot beg your master to give you freedom, and he will just give it to you like that. The freedom is not economical. The freedom we're talking about now is consciousness. And who is going to give it to you? What are you doing with your time? Where are you directing your energy? Are you directing your energy to Big Brother Naija? Are you directing to issues that are very irrelevant to your future and to your life? Because politics actually controls everything about you, your business, your life, policies around you. The police can tell you right now, we're going to shoot because the constitution says so. Right now, the constitution says that any aggression within an internal and external aggression, the country can use force. This is legal. But how many people know this? Because we are more concerned about things that would immediate satisfaction and immediate gratification. Until the people start to realize that immediate gratification would not solve their problem, we'll still be running around this problem, and there will never be a real solution. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that rebuttal, Molira Shabi. Ilya Yakubu, you're next.
Sorry for that mixed up with that mic. My friends are leaving the hospital now. Yeah.
No worries. And before you come in, I want to remind the speakers that 1 minute before the end of your speech, my co-host Jeff would put on reminders in the chat. So please pay close attention to the chat. Ide Yakubu, go ahead.
Okay, so to give more light about political consciousness, from my point of view about this topic, I see it, like I earlier on mentioned, in two ways. What is the political awareness of Nigerians themselves, which of course, Asabi has talked about it, that we need to try, Nigerians need to wake up and do more findings and understand who they are, what is their political power, so that they will be able to respond accordingly to the subject, the main topic, which is poverty. Because poverty on its own cannot just disappear. There are things that must happen before poverty will disappear. And this poverty is created because of lack of awareness by the people. And so when the political leaders at a time of independence, they understand that they have power, they can demand their power, and they ask for it, and they gain that political power from the colonial masters. They, as a people, did not help the citizens to understand that this thing that we have fought for. But let me just be careful with what I said. Few of them who understood that and wanted to create political awareness were easily eliminated. And so that vacuum was created. And this vacuum continued. And personally, I think before we can be able to achieve the political consciousness from Nigerians, we need to deal with the issue of poverty. And that is why I feel poverty is influencing the political awareness of the people. And we need to work, and that's why I make mention of the power mic ideas and how I have seen people respond. There are few people that understand this thing, but we need to echo it more and more, that Nigerians will understand that they have the politics. They need to be aware that this poverty that we are into is not just because we are lazy. People are working hard on a daily basis, but they are earning at less. In fact, I have seen people working as teachers earning 10,000 naira in a month. And if these people understand that the education system should not be the way it is, they will be able to speak out and associate themselves with the right political party, or they will be asking the political actors the right set of questions. They will be able to challenge governance, but because they have been subjected to poverty, some of them have accepted this to be a normal thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. I have one final question each. before we call on the audience. And this is to Oluwasebi first. You talked about the people's activities, again, business, social issues. And my question is, in the last election, there were more voters, more people turned out to vote from the northern states, even though statistically speaking, the northern part of Nigeria are more poverty driven. There are more poor people in the northern part of Nigeria. However, they had the highest number of voter turnout. How do you seem to address this juxtaposition, when you're addressing your point? And my question to Ilya Yakubu is this. We know, like from all you've said, political, consciousness is affected by the poverty, right? Now, Nigerians, despite the poverty, this is also addressing this is also taking some of the points from Oluwasebi. There are a lot of people who are not poor Nigerians, right? But still do not, still are not participating in certain political activities and seem to be conscious of the surroundings, seem to be conscious of the decisions. Now, what do you think the problem is? Oluwasebi, you're next.
Okay, speaking on the North, I'm going to say that, first of all, the North is still under a mental slavery, a huge one, in fact. And the system the North practice is is even more docile than the West. So this can allow the political leaders to influence them more in terms of directing them in a very docile manner to elicit votes from them. So this is why we can have a huge number of votes from the North, because the North practices a very docile and dogmatic system in terms that their leaders are the Muslims, the Sultan, and all of them, and they have so much influence and power and control over the people. The people are still under mental slavery, basically, but it's a different kind of mental slavery from the West. The West are liberal in terms of they have the ability to be educated. In fact, when they brought the statistic from the first time they opened education to Nigerians, they found out that the West was registered to be educated than the North, because the North can have a different tactics or medium of enslaving their people. But the West also has another medium, which is people are nonchalant, liberal, and they only care about money. So anything that gives them money, that is immediate satisfaction and immediate gratification. We don't think about the future. Whereas the North are dogmatic and docile completely. Press a remote control, that's where they will be. Tell them to sleep, that's where they will be. But the West is money. I want to build house. I want to do this. I want to do that. And whatever means necessary, I can get that money. As far as I'm seeing the money right now, I'm happy. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what policies these people are making. Let's just fight it. And you find a lot of Nigerians having the spirit of we'll fight it and we'll just keep moving. But the question is that the real solution to the matter? What does it mean? Are we really thinking for ourselves, or are we allowing people to think for us? We cannot beg people to think for us. We cannot say, oh, because a few people are thinking. No, those people actually took their own time to think. So if we cannot think for ourselves, nobody will do it for you. And I don't like the fact that we're making this like a person's responsibility. It is each and every individual responsibility. The responsibility for you to carry out a business is also a responsibility for you to know your society and your country. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Oluwasebi. Ilya Yakubu, you can come in, after which we will start collecting questions and contributions from the audience. Ilya Yakubu, you have 1 minute.
Okay, so looking at people who are aware about the political reality of our country, and they are at maybe, let's say they're in the middle class, they have income, they can live fine, but still they don't participate in order to save the situation. I think that's the question, right? Did I get your question right?
Yes, it's you're on the right path. Yes, along those lines.
So you find out that most of the people in the middle class, they want to also gain capitalism over this situation. Like people are looking for capital benefits. So as far as poverty is concerned, they are benefiting from it. Some people are collecting data. So as far as they are concerned, people can be that level. As far as I'm out of the poverty line, I'm fine. Whatever will happen, I don't care. And again, that is why I say that is a kind of a wrong approach. Even though they are conscious of the people reality, they needed to do something, but because they are in a position, a place where they feel they are okay, then they don't care to do the needful. And again, that is where this movement is very key, to not for us when because we are okay to ignore the fact that we need to help the people, because someone who have been influenced either by religion or by ethnicity in such a way that even though he needs to be emancipated, he feels that his allegiance is more to his religion or his allegiance is more to his ethnic group, and the people who are promoting that are benefiting from it, you know that those people need some kind of awareness. And I think that's where the political party that will want to help to deal with the poverty situation needs to create such awareness. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. I would like to remind us that whilst we're communicating and expressing our views, let's do so respectfully and let's not use harsh words, please. Thank you. Right now, I will begin to call on the audience to contribute or ask questions. First, I have Comrade Sonny Altukri. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity given to me. I would like to appreciate the co-debaters, that's Ilya, Yakubu, and Asabi. Actually, they've done a lot to the topic, but I think there are some issues they will have addressed earlier. You see, they only associate poverty with financial means or basic needs. In this 21st century, are you with me? Seems like, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
We can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Sonny, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. They should have done more because the topic says, should poverty influence political consciousness? So, mere associating mere associating poverty with basic needs is limiting the concept. Broadly speaking, poverty involves poverty of leadership, institutional poverty, and also poverty of philosophy. Karl Marx took his time to write a book called Poverty of Philosophy. And I think that is what we should be treating by now. Nigeria has gone beyond the issue of financial poverty or basic needs. Let me just cite a reference or an instance here. Just today, Davido, who happens to be a billionaire, make a demand from a kind of rhetoric demand from his followers. And guess what? In less than 60 minutes, his followers were able to contribute about 100 million to him. In another instance, there is this musician, Hausa musician called Rarara. He also made this similar demand. He is a multimillionaire. But in less than a week, 75 million naira was contributed into his account. Given these two instances, we shouldn't limit ourselves to poverty in terms of financial need. Now, last but not the least, Asabe, is it Asabi? She was too harsh on the question asked to her. And she should know that this is a public domain. She should know how to control her words. She was asked on an issue of juxtaposition of Northerners voting a mass number. She should know how to respond to that. Instead, she said the Northerners are docile, the Northerners are dogmatic. That is not the issue. That was not the reason why Northerners vote in mass number.
All right.
Even before the coming of the colonial masters, the Northerners have their system of education. They write letters in Arabic. They have their system of administration. So they are not illiterate. Just because you can speak English doesn't make you an educated person or
Thank
an
you,
enlightened
Comrade
person.
Sonny.
So please, let's mind our language on that.
Yes.
I have so many issues to say, but due to the time factor, I have to limit myself to this. Thanks for this wonderful opportunity to meet next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Sonny. Thank you. You made certain cogent points, and again, I already addressed the use of words, and hopefully everyone henceforth express their views respectfully. Thank you for that. Yes, I hope the speakers are noting out these points because you both have 1 minute each for your closing statements. Next, I want to call on Oguguo. Coming to give your contribution. Again, please, let's stick to 1 minute. 1 minute, and that's it. Go ahead, Oguguo.
Okay, so quickly, I want to give an example. I want to refer to Ashabi, right? So I was talking with a friend sometime last year. He gave me an instance how poverty influences our political consciousness. For example, that he has a driver. He lives in Lagos. That he has a driver that he pays this driver. He pays this driver around 80 to 90K every month. This is in Naira. So, but this driver, he works every day from Monday to Sunday, right? And this driver doesn't live in his house. For this driver to come to work every day, this driver have to transport himself. Like the distance is over 2 hours, right? Because of all these Lagos traffic and stuff like that. And when this driver closes from work, leaves his house every day by 4 p.m., right? So by the time that he gets home, that should be around 7 or so. He's tired, he eats. Like this man's routine, right? This is what he does every day of his life just to earn these 80 to 90K, right? So how can this man then the only exposure this man has to the political whatever is he tunes on his radio station, and this radio station is showering praises on one politician, right? So last now, that driver is meant to believe whatever that radio station tells him. Why? Because he's poor. He doesn't have the time to think for himself, right? In Nigeria, we don't. That poverty have because Ashabi said that nobody holds your time. No, poverty have deprived us of the time that we need to think, and this is the reality. Time of Stevie. Okay, yeah. So this is the reality of most Nigerians. Right. We don't have enough time. Thank you.
Thank you, Google. I'd like to plead that we should stick to 1 minute because we have a lot of people willing to contribute, and we have just 10 minutes more to the end of this debate, so we can kickstart the next one on time. Thank you for that, Ugo. Yes, Chuck, you're next. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'll make it short because Ugo had already pointed some of the points I wanted to make. So I think the first thing is poverty shapes your access to time, because if you spend your entire time, trying to make money just to get by, you don't have access you don't have access to time. You don't have that time to go search for anything. And then poverty also determines your access to internet or whatever, wherever you get your information from. And also poverty also determines your access to knowledge from an early age. What kind of environment did you grow up in? And that shapes how you understand life, in general. It shapes how educated you are and your basic philosophy in life. So poverty shapes all these things. Directing it to Ashabi, do you think that these things do not determine your level of like the exposure, or what's the word we use? What's the word we're using for this?
Consciousness, awareness.
Yes, awareness. Do you think that does not affect that?
Thank you, Chuck. Yes, 1 minute is just up. Thank you, and I hope she's listening so she can include all the answers in our final closing statements. Emmy Hybe, go next. The floor is yours.
Yeah, good evening.
1 minute, please.
Understand. I won't be asking any question. I just want to make some contribution to because as they've rightly said, they said political consciousness is about awareness, and to me, I think more to political consciousness. There is more to it, not just poverty. Poverty is always will be affecting the political consciousness of any.
Emmy Hybe, your audio is not very clear. If can you just do something about that real quick? Otherwise, I'll have to go on to the next speaker.
Hear me now.
No, still not clear.
How about now?
Yes, please, you have 30 seconds left.
3 seconds? I can't make anything.
30 seconds left.
I'm trying to say poverty is always and will always be a factor affecting political consciousness in any country, any democratic state. So I can say categorically that our political elite and the capitalists of this country has shaped the mind of people. You know, Steve Biko said in one of his words that the most important tool or weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the oppressed mind. So this political elite and our capitalist elites have thwarted our minds in a way that we think and we believe that poverty can limit us politically consciously, politically consciously. So I'm thinking, I feel that until we believe that poverty will always limit us consciously in politics.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that contribution. Oha Kingsley, you're next.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So, Chuck had already asked part of the question I want to ask. So, the other question is, do we think, because obviously poverty has actually made has actually given a lot of Nigerians a kind of consciousness towards politics and the whole idea of leadership. So my question is, how do you get someone with that mindset, with that attitude towards politics, to understand, to have a different perspective or a different concept towards politics? Because a lot of people do not believe or participate in politics because of what you're talking about. So how do you get them to actually have another perspective or approach towards politics? And
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I believe we have two more people in the audience. And all right, Theophilus Olamide, you're next.
Yeah, so I want us to get the definition of poverty for us in Africa. Is it poverty that okay, we don't have enough money to buy luxury, or poverty that people can't afford food, that people can't, as in we have 24 million people living outside, that you're just homeless. So if that's poverty, I do not think they have that luxury of thinking about politics, because they're always fighting to survive. We are now surviving. A lot of us are surviving in Nigeria. So I believe this can be a positive thing, because from what I've realized, people want to understand why they are poor, and that's why they find someone to blame. Either they blame devil, blame Satan or something. So if we can educate the people that, okay, this is why you're poor, this is why you don't have education, this is why you don't have food, it's because of those in governance. It's not like you don't want to know, it's not like you don't want to be conscious, but because we are just trying to survive. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the last speaker, who is iPhone? iPhone, are you there?
If I say I'm you,
Oloye, Hey, now you, yeah, please. Please go ahead.
I don't even forget. So
You have 1 minute.
yeah, just a quick one. With me, I think it is the definition of poverty that we need to look at. It is not poverty of the pocket that is our problem, which is the problem we have is poverty of the mind. A lot of us cannot decide for ourselves. We cannot decide what we want.
Oloye, there's something wrong with your network, I believe.
When you see people queuing, collecting money from politicians or politicians, 1,000 will not feed them from other, can't think for themselves. And that's why I coined a word called okonjonomics, poverty of the mind plus poverty of the stomach, which is equals to okonjonomics, because that's what happens in Nigeria politics. When you look at the way people react to things, it is because they are poor in their mind, they cannot think. So that poverty of the mind leads them to start thinking that they are hungry. So is 1,000 naira going to feed you? I don't think so. So I think we need to start looking at, and that's one of the beauty of MOP. We are here to liberate the mind, not to help you to liberate your stomach. We're not here to give you 1,000, but we'll help you to liberate your mind so your stomach will be filled once your mind is liberated. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Oloye. We have exactly 2 minutes more to the end of the debate, so that leaves 1 minute each to the speakers, and I'm going to try to reiterate the questions. First, poverty should not be limited to finances. All right, that has been made clear. Poverty of the mind, poverty of our surroundings as well. We've heard that a lot of people, however not poor, do not have the time to engage, to participate. We've heard that the education of the people on how to be politically aware is important. And we've heard that a lot of people need that platform in which they need to engage politically. All right, so with that being said, I'd like to invite both speakers to give their closing statements. Oloye Ashabi, you want to go first?
Yes. I would just say that I think from the conversation, we were focusing on poverty of the stomach versus the mind, because political consciousness is basically talking about the awareness of the mind, which is either you but the argument is poverty is an influence to give excuses to the poverty of the mind, thereby hindering your political consciousness. So we're still saying the same thing based on poverty of the mind. So it's just a way that people would use this poverty as an excuse to not be aware of their political consciousness. So I would say this now. We have a new movement, which is IPOB. And you find out that people who are poor are still supporting or are still moving with IPOB. And they know what they want. They know their aim. So we can say that poverty is not completely the reason why people will not be aware, because people are always fighting for their rights, regardless of whether they have eaten or they are not. Secondly, the mental issue is more of an emotional imbalance in humans, right? We tend to blame people. Okay, I've not eaten, and then that's why, and this is it. But we forget that these people make plans on business plans. They want to know, okay, how do I solve this problem? The people actually sit down to say, how do I solve this problem? I get one guy from one place, may I call him, whether I go give me work.
All right.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's
Okay.
already 9 p.m. Thank you for that. Apologies for butting in. And finally, Ilya Yakubu, please, very briefly, your closing statement before we go ahead to start the second debate.
Okay, so many people have said it. I think it will be important for us to take this as an assignment on each one of us, that to create the needed awareness and for people to respond the way they should respond, we need to take that advantage because there is a gap already. Like we talk about people not having information, people don't know how to, people have been subjected to believing that this is just normal. Like someone will say there will always be poor people, right? But must it be me? Must it be you? Must it be your neighbor? So It's an assignment and an opportunity for MOP to continue to create that kind of awareness so that people will be able to respond well when it comes to deciding who will be in power. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya Yakubu. I want to thank both our speakers, Olere Shabi and Ilya Yakubu. I want to thank everyone in the audience, those who spoke, contributed, asked questions, and also those who just wanted to join in on the conversation.